Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of our Merciless Sea Ice Survival Series. Today we will use some strategic thinking to improve our base on the frozen sea ice, and to bring our colonists one step closer to escaping the planet. Our colonists are sleeping at the moment, and when they are done resting, we will have Dawn haul the packaged survival meals inside and join Dusk at the research table. As far as our research goes, we are making decent progress towards electricity, and Dusk will level up his intellectual skill to level 8 during this research session. As our colonists are researching, we will designate the area over our stockpile to have a roof built over it, so that the perishable foods that we want to keep frozen outside won't deteriorate as fast. We will draft and undraft Dusk to make him rethink his current task, and after chatting with Dawn and eating a simple meal, he will build the roof over the expanded area we just made. After finishing the roof, he'll get back to researching for a few minutes before they head off to bed. As they get some rest and a mood boost, a Thrumbo wanders onto our map, and this presents us with a decision to make. We can either play it safe and ignore it, or we could play it risky and try to kill it for its powerful melee weapon, high quality textiles, and large quantity of meat. These items would drastically increase our colony wealth, however, and we don't have a high enough construction skill to safely execute a hit and run tactic that requires keeping our door repaired as the Thrumbo bashes on it, and we also don't have a lot of steel that could be spent on making enough traps to stop the thing, so overall it is too high of a risk, so we won't attempt to kill it. We can't ignore it completely though. Its existence on our map requires that it eats 4 nutrition a day, and as of now the only way it would get that nutrition is by eating the meals that we have outside. Therefore, if we want to keep our meals, we will have no other choice but to bring them inside. The Thrumbo won't try to get them in there. Apart from the occasional break for sleep, food, or recreation, research continues uninterrupted for the next 14 hours before we have our first raid out on the sea ice. As expected from our first enemy, her equipment is pretty terrible, and with only a steel knife and a melee skill of 6, she should be a fairly easy target to defend against. Her approach to the base is a long one, and that gives me time to talk strategy. We could play it safe and let the steel trap kill her. We could try to shoot her before she gets to the trap. We could get a little more risky and shoot with one colonist while we kite with another. Or we could be completely greedy and shoot the Thrumbo to try to have it attack the raider. We will go with the second option. Raids won't stay this easy for long, so I want to train our shooting skill while it's safe-ish to do so. But kiting would take too long with our current skill levels, so that makes taking a couple of shots before letting our trap do the heavy lifting is our best option. Our positioning to start the fight can have Dusk a few tiles to the right of the trap so that he has a better angle, and as he takes his first few shots, he can slowly move behind the trap with Dawn. Of all the shots we take here, Dawn lands a hit with the revolver, but it is not enough to down the raider. As the raider approaches the trap, I realize that the raider might have a chance to take a swing at Dawn, depending on if the trap activates before Lumi attacks or not. Unfortunately though, I realize this too late, and Lumi is able to land a hit as a result. While chances are in our favor that this injury won't be permanent, after looking at the health tab we see that Dawn got really unlucky, and got hit in one of the very few ways that can result in permanent injuries. Right in her eyes. Thankfully, not both of her eyes are permanently damaged, and so we will have her bring the knife with her to the bed where Dusk will tend to the injury almost immediately. After tending to Dawn, Dusk will refuel the campfire and then rebuild the steel spike trap. We never know when Randy might throw another raid at us, so it's better to be prepared. Once he finishes building the trap, he eats a meal, feeds Dawn, repairs the damaged walls, cleans up some blood, and then gets back to work at the research bench. Before he can get anything done though, a group of hares starts migrating through our map. We don't want to spend too much time over it though. It is super important that we get electricity done as soon as possible, so until the animals are passing by directly next to our base, we can have Dusk keep researching. Before he starts shooting, we will have Dusk uninstall the trap, It wouldn't be worth 35 units of steel for a single hair corpse. After another quick power nap, Dusk can head outside and start shooting. The main point of him doing this is to train his shooting skill, and the potential food would just be an added bonus. Nonetheless, to increase the chance of hitting anything, Dusk will keep retargeting to whatever is the closest to him. After a lot of misses, Dusk is able to get a kill on one of the hares. After a few more shots, the Thrumbro is getting closer to the hares, and that means that Dusk's training session is over. We don't want to risk the Thrumbro's wrath, so we will just have him bring the hare he killed back to our stockpile, and then he can head off to bed. Shortly after that, we receive the good news that Dawn is healed to her maximum, and now we can take a look at what that maximum is. Thanks to the stab scar in her eye, Dawn will only have a 78% eyesight at best now, as well as a permanent 4% pain. On the upside though, thanks to Dawn's misogynist trait, she will have a permanent +5 mood effect from always being in minor pain. Despite this positive effect though, the reduced sight has much more of a significant impact than that does. Some of the things that rely on sight include shooting accuracy, butchering efficiency, medical 10 speed and quality, surgery success chance, cooking speed, plant harvest yield, research speed, unskilled labor speed, and more. The reduced doctoring abilities is especially not good, because giving Dusk bionic parts in the future just got a lot more complicated. For now though, we can't do anything about it, so we will have Dawn continue researching, and Dusk can do the same after reinstalling the trap. For the next 17 hours, research continues uninterrupted, and our intellectual skill levels increase to 7 and 9 for our colonists. Our research is interrupted by a set of cargo pods crashing down. However, they only contain hops, and that won't help us in the near future, so we will just leave them right where they are and continue researching for the next 9 hours until a Manhunter pack shows up. The red warning and alarming sounds is a bit overkill though, because the worst thing that 2 snow hares could do to us is maybe bite off a finger. We will wait until they get closer before taking action, when we will equip our best melee weapons and get ready for a rather one-sided brawl. In the fight, both snow hares are one hit, and our only injury is a crack on Dusk's nose. We will have our colonists re-equip their normal weapons, and then have Dawn tend to Dusk's injury. One hour later, Dusk is fully healed, and within 3 hours of that, both of our colonists are back to work at the research bench. 11 hours later, some huskies join our colony, and despite their potential use as haulers, we will treat them just the same as we did our cat. We will keep them around as long as we can, without giving them any of our resources or time. It simply isn't worth it. A quick update on our research project: electricity is over halfway done, and Dawn has leveled up to 8 in intellectual. Not long after that, Dusk levels up his intellectual skill to level 10. A bit later after that, we are given an incapacitated refugee quest, and for the most part this is not even worth the time it takes to consider it. A 3-day travel time in one direction means we would have to have one of our colonists be traveling for at least 6 days, and we are in no way capable of making it that far before we freeze to death. Even if we hypothetically managed to pull it off, we would be behind on research, we would need to build at least 2 more rooms to have the same mood that we have now, we would need more food, and we would experience larger raids. There's no reason for us to have any of this, so let's just continue researching. Research continues smoothly for the next 1.5 days, at which point we will have Dusk begin expanding our base for the second time in this playthrough. Electricity is almost done being researched, and that means we will be building some windmills soon. We can't leave the windmills out in the open because raiders will destroy them if we did that. To protect our future windmills, we will build a 20 by 24 wall. This gives us enough space for 2 windmills, a battery power line, a research room, a small storage area, and a walkway between the rooms. Apart from a kitchen expansion in the future, our base will probably stay at this size until almost all of the research projects in the game are completed. There are a lot of reasons for this, but the short version is that anything larger than this base would require us to go over 29,000 wealth to fully utilize it. We will be trying our best to keep our colony wealth under 29,000 until we are ready to drastically increase security, and we have completed all of the research tasks that we want completed. Doing this will allow us to not have to deal with sieges, drop pod attacks, or centipedes while we are finishing research. The only downside to this is that at some point we might have to get rid of some potentially useful items to keep our colony wealth at this level. Before I continue on that thought though, our huskies are running out of time in the world of the living, and as sad as it is, we won't be doing anything about it. Even if we were to have one of our colonists make their deaths quick by finishing them off, that would only make the other colonists have a negative opinion about them for killing a colony animal. Because of this, our best option for the colony is to let nature do its thing. After the huskies pass away and Dusk has finished building the outer wall, our colonists can get a little bit of research and sleep in before the first eclipse occurs on our frozen world. The only thing an eclipse does is it decreases the light level of outside to 0% for a few hours, which for us means that we will have reduced movement speed, reduced work speed, and reduced shooting accuracy for the next few hours. Before I can get rid of this event's message, we are given the location of this planet's starship, and as usual for this event, it is on almost the complete opposite side of the planet, so not only would we have to travel at least 135 days to get there, but we would also need to leave the sea ice biome, defeating the entire purpose of this playthrough. For that reason alone, we won't even be considering this option. Back at the base, Dusk is building an inner set of walls around what will be our main storage room, as well as where we will have a few production stations. As Dusk is roofing over the area, we will make sure that he doesn't build a roof over the area that the windmills will need to be unroofed, as he would just have to remove those roofs later. With our primary storage areas complete, I will be creating 3 new stockpiles that we will have everything at. Above our research room will be where we store our raw resources other than wood, because these materials don't deteriorate outside and they can also take up a lot of space at times, space that our small storage room does not have. Above our storage room will be a stockpile zone for chunks. This is for all of the same reasons as the previous stockpile, but this one is above the storage area because that's where our electric smelter will be, and the closer it is to the chunks, the better. Lastly, our storage area will hold everything, except it'll be at a lower priority than anything else, and the only things that will be moved later is food, corpses, medicine, and a few weapons. While I was making the stockpile zones, a group of Arctic wolves appeared on our map, and just like the hares that came before them, we will wait until they come a bit closer, and then have Dusk take a couple of pot shots at them. Unlike the hares though, Arctic wolves have a chance to turn manhunter when attacked, so we will keep our distance in order to try not to hit them. Dusk levels up his shooting skill to level 5 from this, and all of his shots miss the wolves, so we don't have to worry about them anymore. Now that his target practice session is over, Dusk can haul all of the animal corpses into our new storage area. Well, once I delete the outside stockpile zone, that is. As Dusk is hauling the animal corpses, a set of cargo pods crashes down onto the sea ice, and we will put Dawn into caravan mode to haul all of the chocolate and steel slag chunks to the base. Once Dawn has dropped off the stuff from the cargo pods, we will have her start hauling the farthest corpse to the storage area. Before she completes that task, however, she starts to get hypothermia, so she can head inside to warm up and get some rest. After resting for a few hours, Dusk refuels the campfire for what will hopefully be the last time, and then our colonists finish up the electricity research. The only viable options for our next research project are complex clothing and batteries. Batteries would allow our heaters to have a more consistent amount of power, and therefore could keep our main room heated 100% of the time. On the other hand, complex clothing would allow us to create warm clothing from a tailoring bench, and could keep our colonists warm everywhere on the map. We will be researching batteries first, because we can build a few batteries a lot faster than we could gather all of the materials to create 2 sets of warm enough clothing. Before we can start that research project though, I would like to collect all of the resources available to us on the map and bring them back to the base, and of course I would also like to build some windmills and heaters first. To start off the hauling tasks, Dawn and Dusk will each haul a corpse to our storage room. Next, Dusk will construct our first windmill, and Dawn will enter caravan mode to quickly haul most of the various objects in our research lab to the storage room. As she is doing this, we are informed that our colonists have become engaged, and this event puts any potential breakups behind us, and with it any chance of us having mental breaks for the foreseeable future. While Dawn is in caravan mode, she can haul the steel slag chunks from the front of our base to their designated storage area. While this is somewhat unnecessary, I would rather them not be in a place that could potentially offer cover for raiders. The next thing to do is to build some heaters. For the moment, we'll just start with building 2. Since Dusk is currently building a trap I had planned earlier, we will have Dawn deliver the supplies to the heaters. Before we should continue forcing priorities upon our colonists, we will let them rest up a bit and do whatever they want for a few hours to keep their needs stable. During this time, Dusk builds the heaters and both of our colonists get in some research. For us to keep building things, we will need more steel, so Dusk will now be going out on the first of a few adventures to deconstruct the crashed ship chunks, which will each give us 30 units of steel and 8 components per chunk. Every time Dusk is hauling the resources to the base, he will enter caravan mode to bring back the steel and the components at the same time. For this first trip, he will also take back a few of the steel slag chunks that are nearby. On his second trip, he deconstructs the 2 ship chunks that are to the top right of our base, and catches some hypothermia on the way back, so he will go into our heated room to warm up for a few minutes before completing the second hauling trip. After that, he can deconstruct the wooden wall inside of our research lab. Now that we have heaters, the only thing that this wall is doing is getting in the way. With the additional space in our research lab, we will rearrange the things inside to optimize its layout for the future. Then after that, Dusk can get some rest and fully warm up in preparation for deconstructing more ship chunks. After a solid chunk of time spent resting and researching, Dusk will once again head out onto the sea ice to deconstruct ship chunks. This time he will also grab the last 29 units of steel that we crashed down with and had landed near the top left of our map. We won't have him take the risk of getting too cold by deconstructing the last ship chunk. We will just have him bring what he can back to the base, get some rest, warm up, and then head back out for the last one. And once that last ship chunk is deconstructed, Dusk will once again enter caravan mode to bring back the loot to the base. And now that everything on the map, apart from a few slag chunks, is inside of our base, it is time to make the cut in today's episode. We made quite a lot of progress, finishing electricity, expanding our base, and collecting the resources available to us. We also got a stab scar in Dawn's eye, something that will no doubt hurt our progress going forward. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did and would like to support the channel, then you could like or leave a comment on the video. And of course, if you want to support the channel even further, you can subscribe if you haven't already to stay tuned for more videos. As always, I hope you have a good day, and in whatever you're doing next, good luck and have fun.